Hello, everyone. Manus MacLean here, and welcome to BrainDrain Newsroom for Thursday, September 25th, 2025. Today, we bring you breaking developments, deep dives, and perspectives you won't get from mainstream headlines alone. On the menu, Dallas ICE facility shooting. A sniper attack kills one detainee, two injured. Anti-ICE messages found on the shelves. Deaths in custody. A former DACA recipient dies in ICE custody in California. ICE expansion surge. Plans for hundreds of new offices and thousands of agents. California's chain of detention. ICE shipping detainees to tiny California city. Community chaos. Masking and enforcement. California's new anti-mask laws and enforcement pushback. USCIS special agents. New power for USCIS to carry arms and arrest. DHS rule change on duration of status, replacing DS for students and duration of status for students and scholars. Economics and enforcement. Updates from Oxnard farm raids plus workforce climate fear. Online discourse and messaging. How social media is fueling enforcement narratives. And yes, mid-roll, we'll pause so I can tell you exactly how BrainDrain Unlimited is working and why your support is essential. Let's begin. In a shocking escalation, on September 24th, a gunman opened fire on U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE facility in Dallas, Texas. According to AP reporting, the attacker fired from a rooftop toward a transport van in the facility's entry zone. One detainee was killed, two others critically injured. No ICE agents were harmed. The shooter, 29-year-old Joshua John, then died by suicide. Investigators later discovered that unused ammunition at the scene had anti-ICE scrawled on the casings. This strongly suggests that the attack was politically motivated. An ICE press office confirmed that the sniper targeted detainees, not staff. The FBI is treating this as targeted violence and investigating motive and planning. Why this matters. First, this is violence crossing over from rhetoric into lethal action. When shell casings carry messages, the attacker is signaling more than rage. It's calculated. Second, this raises urgent security questions about ICE facility vulnerability, agent safety, and detainee protection. Third, how agencies and media frame this attack will matter as much as the facts. Will it be couched as terrorizing ICE or as a protest weapon turned deadly? Analysis and implications. ICE will almost certainly demand ramped up security protocols, tighter control of transport approaches, and more surveillance. Expect calls from federal leadership to pass new laws to protect federal facilities or increase penalties for anti-law enforcement violence. But beware, such expansions often come at the cost of civil liberties. More cameras, more armed presence, perhaps harsher rules on visitors or detainee access. For immigrant communities, this can heighten fear. Will enforcement respond with more raids, longer detentions, or more remote facilities? Questions to watch. Did the attacker act alone or was there coordination? Who had access to the rooftop vantage point? Will ICE shift detainee transport protocols, less time outside, armored vans? Will anti-ICE message fuel further retaliation? This is a kind of incident that will set policies for years. Also today, tragedy in detention. Ismael Ayala-Uribe, and again, I apologize for the pronunciation, a 39-year-old former DACA recipient and a Mexican national, died in ICE custody after being transferred from the Adelanto Processing Center to Victor Valley Global Medical Center. He was previously arrested August 17th, held in Adelanto under conditions advocates have long criticized for medical neglect and inadequate care. Reports say he was evaluated for an abscess earlier with scheduled surgery that never occurred. This marks the 14th detainee death in ICE custody in 2025. Each a life lost, each raising new concerns about oversight, health protocols, and accountability. Deaths in detention are not new, but watching them rise in the same year as expanded enforcement is alarming. ICE and detention operators must confront staffing levels in medical units, forced transfers for higher care when local facilities lack capacity, transparency and cause of death reporting, prolonged detention of medically vulnerable persons. For audiences, this signals more than risk. It signals neglect. Whether the death is due to systematic gaps or acute failure, communities need answers and safeguards. In the backdrop of violence and tragedy, ICE is not slowing. According to a recent Washington Post report, the agency is planning to open 300 offices nationwide. We reported this on a day or two ago, to house over 10,000 new hires, including enforcement officers and legal staff. They've relaxed age limits, offered $50,000 bonuses in some regions, and claimed they've received over 150,000 applications, with 18,000 tentative offers already extended. GSA, which controls federal real estate, is now in procurement mode, leasing space from Alabama to Wisconsin to support this expansion. Why scale matters. More agents plus more offices equals more capacity for enforcement, more leverage for deterrence. But expansion also risks overreach, misconduct, shadow systems, especially when local oversight is weak. The interplay with state and local law enforcement becomes more important. New ICE presence may demand cooperation, footprint, and resource sharing. Political and strategic context. Critics warn this scale is reminiscent of a national policing systems turning immigration into every town mission. Proponents argue it's needed to reach the Republican goal of 1 million deportations a year. There's also worry about duplication, offices near existing facilities, overlaps in coverage, administrative cost bloat. For viewers, watch for new ICE presence in your county, new recruitment posters, real estate leases near justice centers, and staffing announcements. This is direct infrastructure for enforcement. California City and detention shipping. In a quiet corner of the California desert sits California City, Kern County, but lately it's become a flashpoint. ICE has quietly begun shipping detainees to a reopened private facility run by Core Civic, a site formerly a state prison. Locals say the facility began accepting detainees with minimal local approval or public notice. It can house over 2,500. Reports now speak of hunger strikes, inadequate medical care, and solitary confinement. Protesters and city council members claim the town was blindsided. Analysis and risk assessment. This is how enforcement becomes spatially distant, detaining away from urban hubs and reducing visibility. Local jurisdictional oversight becomes minimal when detention is far away, accountability drops. The supply chain of detainee transport, staffing, medical care, and oversight is long and opaque. City councils are flooding meetings. Civil rights groups demand state investigations. Immigrant families fear their loved ones vanish into massive detention. For viewers in California and nationwide, this trend signals how enforcement infrastructure is being built, far from eyes, deep in rural territory. In Sacramento, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a major package of bills aimed directly at federal overreach. Among them, SB 627, No Secret Police Act, prohibits federal agents from wearing masks in most operations within California, with few exceptions. Hospital and school protections, restricting ICE access to non-public hospital areas and requiring warrants for status checks in health settings. Governor of California SB 81 bars health providers from disclosing immigration status or birthplace without court order. These bills position California as a frontline resistance state. The mask ban is novel. California claims it's about transparency, accountability, and public trust. DHS counters it's a threat to officer safety, anonymity in undercover operations. Constitutional clash ahead. Supremacy Clause versus state police powers. Court challenges over whether mask laws unduly hinder federal operations. The practical question, will ICE comply or push back via injunctions and federal suits? For viewers, expect legal filings in the coming weeks, test cases, and possibly masked operations in defiance. States watching might replicate or challenge. USCIS, special agents, and the DS rule change. Two major shifts, one at USCIS, one in DHS rulemaking. First, as per American Immigration Council on September 5th, USCIS announced a new class of special agents authorized to carry firearms and arrest people for civil and criminal immigration violations, something the agency was never built to do. This is a radical change. USCIS traditionally adjudicates paperwork. Now it will play enforcement. Expect fear among applicants, confusion among attorneys, and blurred lines between status seeking and status policing. Second, DHS has proposed a rule. DHS has proposed rule changes to end duration of status for F, J, and I non-immigrants. Instead, fixed end dates on I-94s will become the norm, emphasizing extensions, grace periods, and stricter oversight. Impacts. Students and scholars must methodically file extensions, even for small status changes. Grace periods shrink, missteps or delay risk status violation. Advisors and institutions will bear heavier compliance burden. Together, these two changes, USCIS Enforcement Authority and the duration of status elimination, signal a broader shift. Immigration as adjudication is being recast as enforcement. Economic impacts and workforce climate. We revisit the Oxnard Working Paper, Intensified ICE Raids Disrupt California's $49 billion agricultural sector, reducing workforces 20 to 40%, generating $3 to $7 billion in crop losses, and pushing produce prices up 5 to 12%. These numbers affect fields of strawberries, nuts, vegetables that feed much of the U.S., yet the ripple effects reach far. Small farmers losing margin, grocery chains sourcing elsewhere, vulnerable communities paying more. Then there's the emotional climate in workplaces. A survey from the EMCI Wireless finds that 37% of U.S. workers report feeling less safe at work due to ICE crackdowns. This is not just political cost, it's a productivity, absenteeism, mental health cost. Employers now face moral and legal pressures around enforcing document checks, fear-based work environments, and protecting workers' rights. Sociological lens, an arXiv study on social media toxicity shows that as immigration discourse grows, so does polarization and fear narratives. Those with increasing toxicity drift towards alarmist frames. Public fear amplifies enforcement, and enforcement reinforces fear. That spiral matters. Pause with me a moment. You're watching BrainDrain Newsroom, powered by BrainDrain Unlimited Foundation. We exist to support displaced, highly skilled professionals in navigating U.S. immigration pathways and rebuilding their lives. What we do: direct assistance in EB1, EB2, NIW, and O1, other challenging employment-based cases. Education and outreach, webinars, toolkits, question and answer sessions. Research and analysis to surface underreported trends. Community linkage, connecting talent with employers who want to hire globally trained professionals. If this content helps you or someone you know, donate at braindrain.org/donate. Volunteer your skills, law, translation, mentoring. Share and subscribe. Your engagement amplifies the signal. We're building a bridge, not just a newsroom. Thank you. Now, what this all means. Looking across these stories, violence at enforcement sites is escalating, demanding both security and accountability. Deaths in custody remind us that detention isn't safe. Health oversight must be real. ICE structural growth is not passive, it's strategic infrastructure in motion. Rural detention facilities obscure oversight and accountability. State pushback in California is bold but may face constitutional challenge. USCIS is an enforcement agency. USCIS becoming an enforcement agency and ending DS, or is shifting legal culture. Let me just explain a little bit more what they're talking about with the DS, duration of status. When a student comes here, they are legally, they can stay in this country until they finish their degree. Once they finish their degree, then they can either change their status or return to their home country. Many of them do. But if they take a break over summer and go home to visit their family, they have to reapply for another visa. And that can be a little bit of a hassle. In some cases, it's just not practical. But now they're forcing them by putting these end dates and by forcing them to head back and reapply and start the process all over again. Economic, labor, and psychological effects amplify insecurity beyond immigrant communities. And public discourse, memes, messages, narratives, feeds enforcement cycles. For communities and individuals, stay connected, document encounters, know your rights, lean into allies, and hold systems accountable. I'm Manus MacLean. This has been BrainDrain Newsroom, September 25th, 2025. Tonight, We cited sources including the AP, Washington Post, San Francisco Chronicle, American Immigration Council, and Investopedia, and links will appear in the show's notes. Please support BrainDrain. Go to braindrain.org/donate. Share this broadcast. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay informed. Stay safe.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this and maybe even learned something new. If you did, don't just vanish into the algorithm. Hit like, subscribe, and follow us on social. It's the easiest way to support our work and make sure you never miss what's next. Want to stay in the loop without relying on big tech's mood swings? Sign up for our monthly newsletter. And if you've got the means, donations of any size keep our programs running strong. As a 501c3, your gift is tax deductible where the law allows. Together, we can turn BrainDrain into America's next big breakthrough.